Here we are walking up what would have been the driveway to the Englamere Farm. The Englamere Farm was purchased by the Eades family in 1927. The farm itself, most of the structures were built in the late 1800s by the Lippincott family, who the Eades family purchased this farm from. Now these are modern day walking trails. But this, back in the 1800s and in the early 1900s, and even up into the mid 1900s, would have been the way up to the Englamere Farm. And again, prior to that, it would have been the Lippincotts that owned that. But again, you can see some of these early vestiges and stone structures that are still here today. And what we're doing is we're walking up to what's really cool. It is the barn ruins. So I'll meet you there. Here we are at the Englamere Family Farm barn, and the ruins of it, I should say. Farm constructed back in the late 19th century. We know because of this north-facing wall here, the shrubs are covering it right now. Best time to really see this is in the winter when everything is pretty much dead in terms of all of the growth. But there's holes in that wall that denote that this was absolutely a two-story barn. This was down, obviously the downstairs or the ground level. Here's our stairs, the top portion. There is nothing up there, it's just a walking path, so I'm not going to go up the stair ruins, just going to kind of leave them to be as they are. But yeah, this is so cool. I didn't think this belonged in a short, a YouTube short, because of how big this site actually is, just in terms of ruins. It's not just kind of one singular thing that I can get into frame. But yeah, let's come down here. Let's check out the far side and the wall here. Wow. Because this will give you a really great perspective of this barn, how big it was, and you can tell from the ruins. I know it sounds kind of almost like a paradox, but it was extremely well constructed. It just was not cared for over time. These are the original ruins that Benjamin Lippincott and the original structures that he would have built back in the late 1800s. Man, this is so cool. This is like stepping back into history right here. Now we know because of this north-facing wall, you can't see it right now because of a lot of the overgrowth, but because of this north-facing wall and some of the holes and indentations up along it, we know this was definitely a two-story barn. This barn sits just along that path that we just came up. So if you ever come to Harmony Hill and you want to check it out, you can park in that parking lot down below and walk up here if you're a fan of history and historical ruins like me, because this is one of the best places to be in, you know, the Westchester / Downingtown area if you really like historical ruins. Wow. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of growth right now. If you come here in the winter, it's actually the best time to see everything in full. All that, you know, top structure is covered right now. But yeah, I didn't want to put this into a short because I didn't think that was proper. It's such a beautiful family farm barn and it deserves the kind of wide angle lens. So I made a short, long video just to cover the Englamere family farm here. A lot of people, even locals, myself included for a while, you know, really overlooked this. And we just keep going walking by and we never realize this really fascinating piece of history right here. So we walked up that path there down below. That path would have been their driveway. They had their own trolley, which is really cool. I mean, they had their own trolley that crossed over the Brandywine, as well as their own bridge, which we'll go take a look at. Sadly, the family home is no longer intact. It burned down in the mid 1900s there. Willam Eades would have sold this property in 1953 to the East Can Realty Company, and his wife sadly would have perished here in 1946. And when they purchased this as newlyweds in 1927, they started coming up with plans to expand upon what Benjamin Lippincott had left for them, but they wanted to move in action in 1929. If you're fans of history like me, you know what's happening in 1929, the stock market crash, right? So that puts the family's plans on halt. They never go through with them, and what's left are these great ruins here. And here's the Englamere Family Farm bridge. Wow. Imagine having your own bridge over the Brandywine River. This is not the original, obviously. Here's what the original looked like. Here's a photo from back in the early 1900s. But if you were here at the Englamere Family Farm, this is what the bridge that you would have been using. You get across the Brandywine River. Now, the remnants of the trolley are overgrown right now. It's very hard to get to them and see them. I'll come back in winter and do a short just on the trolley in and of itself. But if you ever come here to Westchester, Pennsylvania, you get some really cool things here just at Harmony Hill, right? You have the Gibson Covered Bridge. That's up the trail about a mile that way, mile and a half. And then you can walk down here to the Yellow Trail up to the barn ruins, or if you want, there is a parking lot over on the other side here of the Englamere Family Farm Bridge. So if you ever come here, there's multiple places that you can park to come and check out this very scenic and historic place here in Westchester / Downingtown area, Pennsylvania. We're already much like on the town lines. So parts of it are in Westchester, and then you go into Downingtown.